a very good morning to you. It's good to see you right here on Your World on this Tuesday morning. Hoping that you've had a better start to the day. Welcome to the show. My name is Winnie Lubembe. And first of all, we want to say happy Customer Service Week, because right here at NMG, you are king. So what we do is we pull together to deliver value to you. And I hope that you are happy with our products so far. So happy Customer Service Week to all of you who are watching us this morning. And today on the show, we'll be focusing on climate financing opportunities for micro, small and medium enterprises. Because as we all know, micro, small and medium enterprises, or MSMEs, dominate the business landscape in both developed and developing countries. And in sub-Saharan Africa, 3 of every 4 workers are employed in micro and small enterprises. And in Kenya, for example, MSMEs employ around 80% of workforce and contribute to 20% of the GDP. However, these businesses are highly vulnerable to climate change. So today on the show, we will take a special focus on climate financing opportunities for MSME growth and how they can adapt and also contribute towards combating climate change. So you want to stick around until the end of the show. If you are an MSME watching us this morning, feel free to be part of the conversation at NTV Kenya, both on Facebook and on X. Or if you have a question, our lines are officially opened. Feel free to engage with us on the same. But introducing my guest for the day, this morning we have Mr. Joseph Murabula, who's a Group CEO, Kenya Climate Innovation Center. Good to have you this morning. How are you doing?
Very well, Winnie. Thanks for having me.
Karibu sana, and thank you so much for making the time really to come and talk about this very special and important conversation. But first of all, before we talk about MSMEs and in the country and the gaps, the challenges, because we all know funding is one of the biggest challenges for so many MSMEs. But can we first of all get to understand Kenya Climate Innovation Center? Who are you? Because I was reading and they're saying you are an incubator and an accelerator. What exactly does that mean?
No, thanks, Winnie. Probably before I speak about what an incubator, our business incubator is.
Yes.
Probably let me give you a bit of history around the Kenya Climate Innovation Center.
Sure.
So the Kenya Climate Innovation Center is an 11-year-old institution as we speak.
All right.
We opened our doors in 2012 in September, and opened the doors to our first clients a month later in October 2012.
Right.
And so why did the world think it's important to set up climate innovation centers?
Yeah.
There was a conversations that began around 2010. And like most big things, these conversations begin at the COP, the Conference of Parties. So around 2010, the issue was awareness of climate change was not as widespread as it is now. As it is now. And so there needed to be a way of creating that awareness and finding out how as individuals or as organizations we can lead the fight against climate change. So the World Bank, through what was then called the InfoDev program, came up with the idea to set up climate innovation centers around the world.
All right.
And in Africa, there was supposed to be 4. There was supposed to be 1 in South Africa, 1 in Ghana, 1 in Kenya, and 1 in Ethiopia.
Okay.
The Ethiopia one didn't take off. So the KCIC, the Kenya Climate Innovation Center, therefore stands in as the first in a series of climate innovation centers set up around the world, basically to lead innovations that would support the fight against climate change. So what then is the model of the Kenya Climate Innovation Center? We think that the most sustainable way of fighting climate change is through entrepreneurship, because that is enduring.
That's true.
The solutions will be turned into businesses. Once they're turned into businesses, then they get a life of their own, as it is. And that's the reason why we are a business incubator and a business accelerator. What basically that means is we take good ideas around climate technology and turn them into businesses. And then once they become businesses, they need to be commercially sustainable.
Sure.
They need to have a market. They need to have customers. They need to have financing. They need to have staff, and they need to have a supply chain. Because that's what a commercial business is. And you do that through what's known as an acceleration process, as it is. So the way we do this is once we have, we go through what's known as a call for applications. So people with good ideas that can support climate change, I mean the fight against climate change, and they can be turned into businesses and commercialized, send the applications. We go through a due diligence process just to ensure that these are actually real projects on real ground with real people. Once that is done, then we start off the process, and we provide services across 5 main thematic areas. The first thing we do is what is called business advisory. So at KCIC, the most prominent person there is what somebody we call a business analyst. This is the person who works with these entrepreneurs on a daily basis to ensure that whatever needs they have are brought up front, and there's a structure that can then be able to solve those needs or provide for those needs. The second area is what we call access to finance. As you know, the 3/4 of small and micro enterprises are always crying about financing. Yes. And so we provide that as a model, and we do it in a way that is sort of aligned to the stage of growth of that enterprise. At the very early stage, they're basically just ideas. They don't have a revenue model behind them, because that's what we then end up creating. So most of this funding is grants. So we mobilize resources from our development partners and provide grants to these enterprises. And this is normally to do 2 things. One, to do product development, because they are ideas. They need a real product to give to the customer. So then
actualize the idea.
Exactly. So develop a product to give to the customers, and then secondly, to ensure market acceptance, because you may have a product, but will the customer be able to buy it? So you need a quality certification that this is actually fit for purpose. And so we then link them up with the Kenya Bureau of Standards, which then looks at this product and ensures that it is fit for purpose. The third support activity is what we call access to facilities. Now, because you are an idea, you're basically just starting up a business, you don't have revenues most of the time. You may not be able to pay for an office, or may even pay for internet, or even set up a website, as it is. So in all our offices countrywide, and we have 9 of them across the country. What we do is provide what we call an incubation space. This is a place where it becomes the address of these entrepreneurs. They work from there. They're provided with a desk. They're provided with a chair. They're provided with a locker to keep their things. They're provided with meeting rooms for them to do their meetings. They're provided with internet access, so that then they're able to work. And then we support them to do things like websites, so that then they have a web presence.
In the digital space,
Yes, exactly. So now you have a situation where the funding side is taken care of. You have developed a product. You have a place to work from. But now you need to sell your product. And so now we support them in what we call access to markets. And so because we have a wide network around the world, we know where the market opportunities are. So we take these clients there, be they through exhibitions, trade fairs, or basically just market linkages, introducing them to people who can buy these products. And then we also support them with branding, just to ensure that the products are appealing and the products have a market access. Now, all this would never work unless the policy environment is right. Yes, exactly. So we then work, on the 5th pillar, we then work with the government, both national and county, just to ensure that the policy environment that supports the growth of these businesses is right. So over time, we have participated in a lot of in the creation of a lot of bills, the Climate Change Act of 2016, the Waste Management Act of a couple of years ago, all this. And right now we are supporting a lot of counties to come up with what we call the TVET bills, because skills and knowledge are then key for MSMEs to thrive.
I hear
so
that.
basically that's how we operate.
And
that's who we are and that's how we operate.
Listening to how you're describing what exactly KCSE offers, it seems very, I don't want to say lucrative, but I want to imagine how competitive that must be.
Yes.
Because again, if you're offered support from the start all the way to the finish, up until you have your product out there, and also attracting investors in one way or the other, which we'll talk about. So I'm just curious to understand, so then what is a viable idea? Because there's so many ideas out here. So many young people are very creative, they're very innovative, but I'm sure not all ideas are viable ideas, right? That's one. You are right on two areas. One, that there are a lot of ideas. And most of these ideas come from young people. And so at KCSE, our focus for all our programs is youth and women. Because you then have a fairly long runway and to be able to ensure that these ideas work. What we've generally seen is that every time we put out a call for applications, we probably get 10 times the number of ideas that we need. And so we go through a due diligence process. And this due diligence process basically is meant to ensure that there's actually a real project that is being started on the ground with the real people. Now, a good idea then becomes one that can be turned into an entrepreneurial opportunity. In other words, it is solving a real problem. Because if you are not solving a real problem, then perhaps and in this case,
it becomes difficult to commercialize. And if it's difficult to commercialize, then it's basically difficult to be able to have it sustained as a business. So one that can be commercialized means that it's solving a real problem and it can be scaled or replicated as it were. Because that is how that then can be turned into a business. Once it's turned into a business, then now what you need is basically your entrepreneurial skill to be able to move this forward. And over time, we've seen these businesses are working and providing real opportunities, including what we call the green jobs, because all these ideas, however good they are, the first line is that they must be good for climate.
That's true.
So they must be supporting the fight against climate change, because we are a climate innovation center at the end of the day. So if it could be a good idea with a good technology, but it leads to a higher carbon intensity or higher greenhouse gas emissions, so that we will not touch. So we only touch those that reduce the amount of carbon emissions that get into the atmosphere. So a direct answer to your question would be one, a good idea, good for climate, can be commercialized, and can be scaled or replicated.
Absolutely. And I just want to focus a little bit on climate change, because again, it impacts all of us, right? Sadly, that there's some people or some regions in the country and across the globe as well who are mostly impacted by climate change as compared to others, but we have all felt the impact of the same. The Met Department is warning us of El Nino, which expected in the coming weeks. But can we first of all talk about then how the MSMEs can help to fight that, so that again, like you're saying, you're not just focusing on the commercialization aspect of the same, but you're also providing solutions for climate change. There has been a lot of conversations around climate change recently. So then what role do they play? And first of all, can we just understand how they have been impacted? Businesses have been impacted by climate change and providing solutions to the same.
In many ways, climate change affects all aspects of life as it is. I mean, you've just spoken about El Nino. What El Nino does, and if we go through the experience, we know of 1997 when there's El Nino, is the first thing it does is it destroys infrastructure. So roads, bridges are all destroyed. and therefore transport becomes a problem. So movement of goods and people become a problem, and then for trade is negatively impacted as it is. Yeah, but also what it does is it restricts normal activity. Yeah, if it's a flood, for instance, a lot of people then have to move to higher ground, for instance. And so whatever it is they normally do on a daily basis can't get done. Or if it is a drought, then normal farming activities cannot go on because there's no water to basically power it. So the question then becomes, how can MSMEs support this? Now, there's a whole host of things that MSMEs can do. But the first instance is to look at the sort of solutions that you need to fight climate change. And usually because they are new, people want to do them on a smaller scale. Because if you bring them through the
trading,
exactly, if you bring them through the private sector, you're worrying about risk return at the end of the day. And so you don't want to come in a very big scale. You want to come in a smaller scale, have it already proven, and then you can invest because that's how you sort of manage risk. So the role of SMEs in this case is to act some sort of a laboratory. So we invest in an SME in a small scale, ensure that it succeeds, and then after that, then we can scale it up. So that's the first role. And then the second is basically to worry about what we call scope 1 emissions. You know, those are emissions from your own production processes. So the way you sort of manage that for an SME is to have what we call sustainable production processes. So you order your energy needs in such a way that, one, you only use renewable energy. And we are seeing that, a lot of that in KCIC, where we are doing something we call productive use of energy. And through that program, we are powering the economy, be it agriculture, be it transport, but we replace the fossil fueled energy. So we replace all these diesel generators with the solar powered energy sources as it is. Or if we go to the water side, we then replace all these diesel generators that power pumping stations, for instance, with the renewable energy. So sustainable production processes by MSMEs becomes one way of fighting, becomes one way in which MSMEs can contribute to the fight against climate change. The other is basically sustainable products. Ensure that whatever products that you put in out there are all sustainable. So if it's packaging, for instance, you want to use biodegradable packaging rather than packaging that would then destroy the environment. So, for instance, when the government a few years ago banned single-use plastics, for instance, because that was a big problem, then the SMEs moved to sustainable packaging, and the environment becomes a lot more healthier and a lot more green that way. So that's the other one. And then you realize that in terms of the fight against climate change, one of the biggest issues is around information, just information asymmetry. You may want to do your part, but you don't know. What do you need to do? So SMEs can help quite a bit in terms of educating the value chain that they use, because they have suppliers and they have the customers. So education and awareness can be key. For instance, you basically speak to your suppliers and say, look, for me to buy from you, here is what I need.
These are the requirements.
Exactly. These are the requirements, and you make sure that they're all sustainable, because they need a market. They will certainly conform as it is. And then green investment, again that is key. Basically, just ensuring that whatever business lines you invest in are all sustainable, and you only source your funding from sources that support the climate agenda.
I hear that, and it's. I mean, I was watching some of the videos of you know, some companies and enterprises that you have supported. Beautiful, beautiful ideas. I mean, one was doing propagating, the other one was on concrete beehives.
Yes.
Which, I mean, ideally you wouldn't think about it that way, because again, this person is saving, you know, on trees and all those things. Brilliant ideas by so many young people. So probably one is watching us and thinking, so then what is that one common mistake that most MSMEs would make? Because when we talk about climate change, most of the time we hear the big words: carbon market, carbon credit, phasing out versus, you know, phasing down, and all those things. And we might think about that from bigger corporations and industries, you know, and tend to forget that even us, even at homes, right? And in our businesses, we tend to contribute one way or the other. So I'm just trying to understand, quantifying the impact of the same and what you have seen so far from these enterprises that you have supported. What would you say that has contributed as far as the fight against climate change is concerned? To what magnitude would you say?
Yeah, I mean, to a large extent, the ones that we support, and we are supporting about 2,200 of them at the moment. Over time, we've supported close to 3,500 over the last 11 years that we have existed. And we've had a success rate of about close to 70%. So what basically that means is that there are over 2,000 enterprises in this country that started off as ideas within KCIC as it is, and over time they've been supported to become what they are now. So what is their contribution? What have they done? What impact have they had at the end of the day? In terms of the main impacts that we seek, and those are normally two in a dichotomy, you know, like they are usually two. On the one side, the entry point is you need to be able to fight climate change. So we look at your carbon intensity impact. How much carbon are you able to remove, or how much carbon are you able to avoid? On an
annual basis, maybe?
Yeah, or just, it's measured on an annual basis by our M&D team.
I see that.
And we've been able to do close to 500 metric tons over the last 11 years.
Wow.
And then on the other side, you're looking for economic opportunities, because that's what sustains all this. So you are basically then looking at supply chain opportunities. How much revenue are you generating? How many people are you employing? And basically, how many people within the ecosystem are you able to support as it is? So in terms of jobs, we generate close to 4,000 jobs every year. So over the last 11 years or so, we've generated over 40,000 jobs from just ideas. So these are people who come in with just ideas. You are a single proprietor. All you have is an idea and yourself. And then we support you over time. We see after 1 or 2 years, you employ 2 more people, employ 3 more people in the second year. Over time, we have now enterprises that began as ideas within KCIC, whose workforce is in the hundreds right now. And so that, and if we take it that then every job in this country supports about 5 people, a family of 5 people, then the 40,000 jobs we've created are probably supporting 200,000.
And that's beautiful too.
Yes, exactly.
That's beautiful to hear, because again, we're living in a country where a lot of young people and women as well, suffer from unemployment, and therefore this impacts their families in one way or the other. So we're saving the world by combating climate change, but we're also providing job opportunities, which is a beautiful thing. All right, so we're about to take a break.
Just a comment on that. Remember, at the end of the day, the fight against climate change is there, but people have got to survive.
True.
So all that everybody is looking for first is to better their circumstance, their economic circumstance
situation,
as it is. That's the first thing. And that's why usually the best organization to fight climate change are usually private sector organizations. So leave government doing policy and leave the private sector organizations to fight climate change for the simple reason that they will see it as an opportunity to better themselves through enterprise. And usually the private organizations innovate a lot more faster than the government ever can.
I see that.
And so if you look, for instance, at SDGs, for instance, the SDG that sort of combines all this is around SDG 8, decent work and economic development. But that is the one where everybody, you may not think about it, but in reality, all you're doing is to see how I can be a better person, or how I can make my circumstances better.
And even a sense of responsibility towards the environment, right, which we live in, and should be as livable as possible. Okay, so let's take a break, but when we come back, then we'd want to talk about the KCIC investment.
A lot of people call us KICC sometimes.
KCIC Investment Summit, the inaugural summit, which will be happening from the 4th to 6th October, and under the theme Climate Financing Opportunities for MSME Growth. So what is that all about? And also talk about how then we can help MSMEs to be investor friendly and investor ready, because again, at the end of the day, money is part of the same, right? But so all that is coming up after the break. Any questions that you have, please feel free to send them our way at NTV Kenya, and both on Facebook and on X, or give us a call, and we'll answer them before we end the conversation. But see you on the other side of the break. Okay, welcome back. The show is Your World, and just in case you're tuning in right now, today our focus is on climate financing opportunities for MSME growth, and we're saying MSMEs play a very important role, just like, you know, all of us. First of all, we all should be parts of this, and this is as far as combating climate change, but MSMEs play a very, very important role in the same, and this is through their businesses, their ideas, and their products, as well in a whole, you know, supply chain of the same. So today we have Mr. Joseph Murabula, who's a Group CEO, Kenya Climate Innovation Center. And of course, their main focus is, first of all, to provide, you know, incubation, like we said, acceleration, capacity building, innovative financing to entrepreneurs developing innovative solutions. And this is as far as climate change is concerned. So probably if you're watching us and you're thinking, hey, okay, I have an idea as far as combating climate change that, again, could be commercialized later on. Maybe you want to call in live and probably ask Mr. Joseph a question or two, or better yet, send them on our socials, and that is at NTV Kenya, both on X and on Facebook as well. But before we went on a break, there's something that we were to talk about, the KCIC Investment Summit, the inaugural summit, which will be happening from tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Tomorrow is 4th, yes. From tomorrow to the 6th of October 2023, under the theme Climate Financing Opportunities for MSME Growth. But very quickly, you also focus on 5 thematic areas, and that is on agriculture, renewable energy, water, waste management, and commercial forestry. Mentioned a little bit as we started the show, but I'm just curious to understand, what are some of the opportunities that are in these 5 key areas that maybe young people and women as well can tap into and make business out of the same, but at the same time also provide solutions for climate change? And this is not to give leakage as far as ideas are concerned to the people who are watching us, but yes, because there's so many opportunities, no?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's the whole concept of green entrepreneurship. Yeah. And if you realize it revolves around those 5 areas. You may call them the circular economy, you may call them blue economy, you may call them other nice ones. Yeah. But basically it revolves around those. Yeah. Now, there have been a lot of studies around this area to just find out just how big is this green economy. It is. And overall, it's about 120 billion opportunity around those green areas. Okay. And usually the way, what I normally tell people is that the way to tell whether there's an opportunity or not is to see just how much funding you need to be able to solve the associated SDG.
Yes.
For instance, if you're talking about agriculture, just how much funding do you need for SDG 2?
Okay.
By 2030. So between now and 2030.
Yeah.
If you're talking renewable energy, for instance, just how much funding do you need for SDG 7 between now and 2030? Or if you're talking about water, how much do you need for SDG 6 as it will be between now and 2030? That's normally the opportunity.
Okay.
And so when studies were done, it was found that this is just slightly over $120 billion opportunity. And we're talking about Kenya alone. So in Kenya alone, we're talking about that. So where are these opportunities as it is? So there are opportunities around sustainable agriculture, for instance. Just the replacement of chemical fertilizer with organic fertilizer. That in itself is a fairly huge opportunity. So we just need to be able to find how to be able to do that. Then there's lots of opportunities around renewable energy. Things like productive use of energy. Just get renewable energy and power agriculture, power water, or power education, or other sectors of the economy. Lots of opportunity around lots of opportunities around that, and then waste management, which is probably the biggest opportunity, but nobody really worries about it. Because this is where you now worry about just how much waste there is and how you can reduce that waste. So just waste reduction alone is a huge opportunity. I don't know where you buy your dresses from, but there are beautiful dresses out there that are just made from waste. As it is, or very beautiful shoes that are made from waste. So there's a whole industry growing around sustainable fashion that is basically waste that then is converted into fashion products. Then there's lots of opportunities around real-time sorting, picking, and recycling. So basically structuring out the dump sites. So you don't need Dandora. So there are lots of opportunities that. And then if you apply then technology, there are lots of real-time solutions around waste management. For instance, there are now smart bins where they tell you where just what level of how full your bin is, so that then you know when to go and replenish or when to go and throw away the waste as it were. And then there are lots of opportunities around reduction of chemical intensity. Remember that this waste is going to be used for economic products in the future. So you need to be able to reduce the amount of chemical, of just the amount of toxicity within the waste. So lots of opportunities around that. The opportunities around renewable energy, of course, are legion. I mean, there are all these solar systems, home solar systems, solar systems for commercial, and then the pride of place now, which is transport, as it is, because transport is one of the biggest emitters. So by reducing the emissions within transport, you get all these EV solutions, electric solutions. So you have things like electric vehicles, electric buses, electric bikes, and we are supporting quite a number of entrepreneurs who are already in this space. Your Uber now, there are lots of people who are doing who have imported electric vehicles, and probably your Uber is now an electric vehicle. And then just to be able to support it, the infrastructure now to support that electric vehicles. You may have exactly charging stations, refueling stations, battery swapping stations. They're all coming up around Nairobi. And
I saw one of the guys doing that business that you've supported as well, the battery swapping.
Yes, exactly. And they all can be done on a commercial model. But the common theme around all this is that, like any business, you need funding for it. And so the reason now we are trying to do the KCIC Investment Summit is basically to connect these entrepreneurs coming up with all these innovations and potential investors who can then. So what we hope to achieve is one, take advantage of the opportunities. And we've just come out of the Africa Climate Summit, for instance.
Yes, yeah.
And if you looked at the Africa Climate Summit communique, the final communique, you saw a lot of pledges.
Yes.
$23 billion worth of pledges of money that needs to flow. Now, that is a pledge, remember. So that money will probably be budgeted for, because this is public funding, and then it will be sitting somewhere. But how does it flow to an actual project?
Yes.
So this is what we need to be able to unlock. And you unlock this by having a conversation. Beyond the conversation, then you have a structure that then sees this funding flow. But more importantly, remember that the real opportunity, the real economic development will not come out of public funding. Yeah. It will come out of private finance.
Yes.
Isn't it? Yeah. So how do you then use this public funding to be able to innovatively get a higher pot of private funding flowing into this project? And then therefore you do what we call innovative financing models.
All right.
And so this conversation then we are going to have at the KCSC Investment Summit is how do we get, it's about how do we get this public funding in, but how do we use this public funding to create, to mobilize a higher pot of private funding. And that's why if you look at the program of the summit, for instance, the first speakers are all from the National Treasury. Okay. The leadership of the National Treasury in the name of the CS and the PS, because they are anchoring this in the National Resource Mobilization Strategy. So they will be talking about what the country is doing around this, and then from there you'll be able to see opportunities as it is. And then once they have spoken, then in the afternoon you have a policy panel that is now looking at if this is what the government needs to do, what policy priorities do we need to come up with in order to blend this public money being pledged here and then the private funding that's supposed to come in order to ensure economic development. Because the private sector, as you mentioned before, that is the engine of growth. And in the private sector, the real engine is in MSMEs. You mentioned a few statistics before. 75% of all employment is coming from
MSMEs.
Exactly. So that's where the opportunities are. And so we are doing this to ensure that funds flow, but they flow to the MSMEs as it is, because that is where most people are. That's where, as I mentioned before, that is the laboratory of innovation as it is, because innovations happen there, then they're scaled up, and they become bigger businesses as it is.
I see that. So then who gets to attend the summit? Is it mostly entrepreneurs, MSMEs, or is it open to the public?
Yeah, it is open to everybody. You just need to be able to register. And then you are accredited. There's an accreditation process. And then once you are accredited, you will get a confirmation. You'll be given a number, and then hopefully by end of day, before end of today, the badges will be ready. You can be able to go to the Edge Convention Center and be able collect your badge. What generally people don't know is that the Edge Convention Center is one of the few climate smart buildings we have. So the choice of holding this conference at the Edge Convention Center was not by accident. This was a deliberate move to be able to show, so that as you walk in, you're already in a climate smart building as it is, and it's already certified as such. And then there will be exhibitions where you see a lot of the innovations we are talking about. What we've done is, out of the close to 2,500 enterprises that we are supporting, we brought in about 10% of that. About 250 of them will be exhibiting there. And they cut across all the sectors that we support. But we know that what we do is not enough, given the demand. I just mentioned before that every time we do a call for applications, you get 10 times
more.
So we have, therefore, people we are not supporting, but it's not that the innovations are bad. They are equally as good. It's just that we don't have the resources to support them. And therefore, they're being supported by other people. So when we go there from tomorrow, you will again see about 100 of these enterprises not being supported by KCSE or KCSE institutions directly, but being supported by other players within the ecosystem.
Very interesting.
As it is.
All right.
So there'll be 350 exhibitors. The booths are being set up as we speak. By end of the day, they'll all be ready. And then so tomorrow at 7 a.m. when you walk in, please go and look at the innovations, the technologies, so that by 8:30 a.m. when you get into the plenary and people are speaking, you can marry the two. What people are speaking about and what you'll have just seen.
And I want to imagine there would be potential investors at the summit as well, right?
Yes, they are intense.
Okay.
They are probably 60 plus potential investors who will be there. And they cut across again all aspects, all areas of investment. There'll be philanthropic organizations. These are grant makers, people who are looking for impact. There will be concessional funders, or development finance kind of people, so looking for impact but a bit of return, but not to a commercial scale. And then there'll be very commercially minded investors looking for more mature kind of businesses where they can get a commercial return. So there's an opportunity for everybody, whether you are an investor, an innovator, or just somebody who has a lot of interest within the climate entrepreneurship space.
Okay, I see that. And the reason why I asked that is so then how can MSMEs get their business, to that level where it is investor friendly, it is investor ready, so that by the time you're speaking to someone, there is, there's potential at the end of the day to have this person come and invest in your business.
Yes, exactly. And money flows into organized businesses. That is what we must never forget. So at KCIC, as part of our programs, we do what's called investor readiness. So all our programs have an investor readiness component. Now, at this in this investor readiness component, what we do is we support these MSMEs to reorder their systems. Remember, you need to have an information system that be able to tell me that whatever it is you're telling me is verifiable. And so we support them to do ERPs, enterprise resource planning systems, install them. That will be able to do your accounting. And then we support you to have those accounts audited. So we hire an auditor for you if you're qualified. And then we provide you with technical assistance for investor readiness. These are people who help you to be able to create what are called pitch decks. Information, package the information in such a way that it can be given to a potential investor, and he's able to make sense of it, and basically train you in terms of how to communicate between an investor with a potential investor. But remember, I said before that one of the biggest barriers to climate financial flows is basically just information, and not because the information is not there or the data exists, but it's packaged in a way that it cannot be consumed by the potential investor. So we have all these investor readiness programs that ensures you are able to keep the right kind of data, process it into the right kind of information. You are able to communicate effectively with the potential investor, and because of integrity or usually ethical concerns, then you need a very strong governance system. So we then support you to be able to make sure that the governance system you have is right. Now, a lot of MSMEs are started by people like you and me. We are, so I would go there and say, this is Murabula Limited, or this is Murabula's and Sons or something. But nobody's going to invest in something that is not structured. And so we support formalization of all these MSMEs so that they are investor ready. Because if you are a limited liability company, the probability that you will attract an investor is a lot higher than if you are just
business just set up somewhere
exactly,
and then that's
with a kiosk somewhere at the end of the corner.
No
and
proper
you
structure.
say, now I'm supporting this sort of technology. Formal structures, formal governance system, proper accounting, proper pitch decks, information processed in a way that can be consumed by the investor. So we support all this. And tomorrow when you get there, there will be, in the afternoon, all the 3 days, there are what we are calling deal rooms. These are rooms where now real conversations between the investors and these enterprises will be happening. And so they will be, they are themed. So there's going to be a deal room for the circular economy, for instance, so waste management, etc. There'll be a deal room for natural resources. There'll be a deal room for agriculture. There'll be a deal room for renewable energy. So you'll have all these deal rooms. So you and there'll have aligned investors. So investors within that space. So each of these entrepreneurs now knows. I am in this space. This is my deal room. This is where I go. This is the sort of people I'll find there. And then when I get there, this is the language that I need to speak.
You want to speak.
Because because these are not people with a lot of time. As it
you
is.
need to convince them as soon as
So you need to do your pitch in as short time as possible. What you do, how you do it, what the future looks like, and then start the conversation from there. And then what we are hoping is that there will be a lot of common understanding between the potential investors and the enterprises, so that then this conversation can continue beyond the summit.
Beyond the summit. I like that. I like that. Seems intense, but it is possible.
Yes, exactly.
Like you said, structure, packaging and all those things, very necessary. Okay. Unfortunately, we have to end the conversation here. I was about to ask, what do you hope to get from there? But again, you've mentioned conversations beyond the summit. In like 30 seconds, let's say there is an entrepreneur who's watching us this morning and thinking, you know what, I have been doing business wrong. I want to venture into, the climate, into this climate sort of like business. What is it that you will tell them that they need to know? Because like we said, you cannot just come in and, your company is emitting a lot when it comes to carbon. So what is it that they need to know in 30 seconds?
Start your business, order it in such a way that it's climate smart, it's able to contribute to the fight against climate change, and then look out for opportunities on our website, on our social media handles. They are all there. There's usually around the last quarter of the year. This is the most popular time for your call for applications. For all the for the 3 main programs, the agribusiness program, so for people within the agricultural value chains, for the green business program, for people who have good climate technologies that can be commercialized, and for what we call the productive use of energy, of renewable energy program, which is now you use renewable energy to power business or to power enterprise. And so look out for these opportunities. They usually come up in the last quarter of the year. So they will be there. I
see that. All right.
But more importantly, see you for the next 3 days at the Edge Convention Center, the College of Insurance in South Sea. We will be there having all these conversations. You will see real entrepreneurs doing real things, and then you'll see real investors looking for real investment opportunities.
Absolutely.
So if you are in this space, I don't think you should be anywhere else.
Absolutely. You need to get yourself there. From tomorrow to 6th October 2023, the Kenya KCIC Investment Summit, the inaugural one. So you need to be there. But for now, I'd love to say goodbye. Thank you so much for your time. Very useful information this morning. Insightful conversation. Mr. Joseph Murabula, Group CEO, Kenya Climate Innovation Center. Asante sana for your time, really, this morning. And thank you as well for staying with us until the end of the show. I'm pretty sure that you have learned so much from today's conversation. So the ball is in your court. All the very best. And I'll see you tomorrow morning. Same time, same place, right here on Your World. Stay safe. God bless. Goodbye.
Thank you.